Sporting Journal Radio, presented by Onyx.
All right, now it's time to go up to Lake of the Woods and check in with Joe Henry from Lake of the Woods Tourism to get a fishing report from that big walleye factory in northern Minnesota. Joe, how's it going?
Hey, Brett. Hey, I don't know if you saw, but we actually re-aired on our Facebook page some of the old-time resorters talking about the transformation of fishing on Lake of the Woods. Did you see that this week?
I did see that. I appreciate you sharing that. That was a story from Prairie Sportsman that we filmed a couple years back, and that was a really a fun one to do. You know, it's funny to go do a fishing story at Lake of the Woods and not fish. Really, I hardly fished at all on that trip, which was really hard for me. I'm not going to lie, yeah. But it was fun to hear the stories from the guys that have been on that lake forever, talking about the evolution of the fishing industry on that lake and how it's changed from commercial to the guiding and resort industry, and some of the regulations on the lake and how they've changed, and just what, ice fishing in general, Joe. I didn't realize it. I was looking back. We went to the museum up there and got to look at some of the old ads for ice fishing that the resorts had just in the 80s. That's not that long ago. And it was like $25 for a day of ice fishing at Lake of the Woods. It wasn't a big deal then.
No, it was just kind of getting rolling, and but it's funny. It was fun because we could have spoken to so many different resorters, right, who were part of this show. It was Ed and Jack Arneson of Arneson's Rocky Point. It was Steve Ballard of Ballard's, and it was Mike Truman formerly of Boardview Lodge. But these guys have a lot of history and a lot of good stories. And I enjoyed hearing from all of them. One of the stories I enjoyed was back in the day, if you caught a 25-inch walleye in Lake of the Woods, you know what? You'd have people coming down and taking pictures of it. Heck, nowadays, if somebody says they got a 30-incher, the question is, how many did you get?
Yeah, unreal. I mean, that's absolutely unreal. And I think you can thank the slot limit for a lot of that, growing some big fish up there. And they all talked about the slot limit being one of the best things that lake. The managers of that lake have done, the DNR has done for that lake, is to put that slot limit in there.
Well, think about this one. So for listeners who don't know, on Lake of the Woods, 19.5-inch walleye to a 28-inch walleye have to be released immediately. So that's called a slot fish. Hey, enjoy a good fight, take a good picture of it, get that fish back. The reason it starts at 19.5 inches is that's when a female walleye becomes a walleye that can lay eggs. So imagine, Brett, if we have, last year we had 2.9 million angling hours on the South Shore ice alone. Unreal. Imagine if all of those breeding fish were taken home in coolers, which most of them would be. Imagine what that would do over time. Now, hey, the best eating walleye is a 15 to 17 incher anyway. You know what? You're keeping the better eaters. You're putting the breeding stock back, which gives our lake sustainability. And, we also have a very good population of trophies. If you want to keep a trophy, you're allowed to keep one over 28 inches. And even then, some people are letting them go and getting a graphite mount. So, yeah. There's a lot of good options.
So I'm editing another segment for Prairie Sportsman from our trip up to Lake of the Woods last year, our family trip. And the first two fish you see us catch on the show are, I think they're 29 inches, either 29 or 29 and a half. Unreal.
Isn't that awesome?
Unreal. One thing about that much pressure, you talk about 2.9 million angling hours. I mean, that is a lot of people on that lake fishing just in the wintertime. Garbage on the ice is obviously an issue, but something we talked about earlier here in the show, if you're listening to the radio show, something we talked about earlier was what's going on with human waste on the lake. And I know you and I have kind of touched on this on the show in the past, because is it like the EPA or somebody's like monitoring what's going on up at Lake of the Woods, aren't they?
Sure. So what it is we have a group that we've been working with. We created a group called Keep It Clean. And that group up at Lake of the Woods has been running for a few years now. And it's made up of stakeholders from the Lake of the Woods area. And really the purpose is to educate, promote, and enforce a clean Lake of the Woods. And that means planning ahead, using garbage bags that aren't white, making sure that you plan ahead on where your garbage is going to go when you drive off, securing your garbage bags in the back of your pickup bed so that when you get up to speed, they don't blow out, making sure things don't freeze outside your fish house or get covered with snow. And then, helping out your neighbor if they messed up a little bit. All those different things are part of the Keep It Clean, and it's been a big success. And, garbage is one thing. The MPCA is starting to take a look at some of the human waste issues. And,
that's it.
A lot of our businesses, our sleeper fish house businesses specifically, or resorts that do sleeper fish houses, a lot of them have gone to, instead of using plastic bags and a bucket to go to the restroom, that plastic bag is worse off than the organic materials that come out of our bodies. So that's not necessarily a good solution, but it's what's been used. So many of our resorts so far have gone to porta potties. That way you can deal with just the sludge without any plastic bags. And then some of them are even experimenting with some compost porta potties. So we still don't know what the right answer is, but everybody's trying to work in a common direction that's going to be better for the environment. And Lake of the Woods is working on it, but the MPCA is Minnesota. All lakes are going to have to deal with it, whether they know it or not.
Yeah, well, human waste, specifically the number 2 variety, is not good for water. And I've had people say, well, what, birds, fish, and other animals go to the bathroom in the lake? What's the difference? Well, there is definitely a difference, and it's research. It's been proven that you can have algae blooms and fish die-offs, and it changes the ecosystem. So if you get too much of that human waste in there, you're going to have some serious issues, and that's going to affect your lake. So not only are the people that fish there, the anglers, the guides, not only are they going to have an issue with what effect that might have on the lake, but you're definitely, MPCA, EPA, whoever, you're going to have some governmental bodies, some organizations putting some more regulations on these lakes and what you can do on them. And Joe, the story that we talked about earlier was on a different lake, and people using their wheelhouses, using the bathrooms in the wheelhouses, and then dumping them out as they're driving off the lake. So they're just unloading all that sewage on the ice. And I'm sure that's happening all over the place. I'm sure that's happening at Lake of the Woods, Joe.
It's happened. It's absolutely happened. And you know what it is these wheelhouses are getting to be so darn nice that they actually have heated holding tanks with different chemicals in it so they don't freeze and crack and all this stuff. So, and we have seen some people dump. They dump on the lake. They've dumped as they're coming off onto the land. We've seen it, and it's colored and it's gross, and it's just disgusting to think that somebody would, out of convenience, do that to the environment. It is so self-centered, Now, up at Lake of the Woods, we're trying to address it by letting people know that we do have a couple of winter dump sites. One of them is Log Cabin Bait, and the other one is Howard's in Senex, where the subway is in Bedad, right in the town. So there are a couple of winter locations. There are more locations in the summer than there are other winter, but these are 2 winter locations that you can dump your wheelhouses up at Lake of the Woods. And again, it's that Keep It Clean it's a part about providing the resources to do this. Merry Christmas, yeah. And was that person dumping out of his wheelhouse, or what was he doing?
Cousin Eddie.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
Blanks full.
Is that Danny running the controls behind the scenes there, or what?
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's doing that just to get us smiling again, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's just, you nailed it, that you just have to kind of plan ahead. And that's, you think about bait, you think about what lures you're going to bring. You got pizzas and pizza rolls for your pizza cooker that you got. Everybody's got those in their wheelhouses now, and they're fun. And we do it. We do the bag and bucket trip out there when we, that program when we're out there. But you just have to plan ahead for what you're going to do with your human waste so that you're not leaving it on the lake or in the environment somewhere. So that's great to have a couple of dumping sites while you're up there. And especially then when to have a place like that when it's cold. That's the problem. It's been so cold lately to not have to deal with that, to have a place where you can go do that and know this is where we're going to go and we're going to take care of it. You can kind of plan ahead because, when it's cold out, things get complicated, things break. I bet that, Dan's been experiencing this a little bit with, like, the other day, everything went wrong for him out on the lake. Things were breaking, things were freezing up. I bet people don't realize what those guys go through up on Lake of the Woods, because it gets cold and windy up there, and you got locks freezing shut and doors freezing shut and things break. And I know at some point when it gets, down to that 20, 30 below zero wind chill or air temp, I don't even want to go because I'm going to break everything out there.
Yeah. It's funny. I communicate with a lot of resort owners, a lot of ice guides. And first off, kudos to these men and women who are working the ice, because it's not easy. They're getting up at dark 30, getting all the equipment started, getting it warmed up, driving the ice roads, making sure cracks and ice peoples haven't had. They're doing a lot of work to make sure it's comfortable for the ice angler, and that's awesome. But I'll tell you what, they always tell me, it's unbelievable how brittle the hardest material can get when it's 20, 30, 35 below zero. Things break. I just had a Mr. Heater that I was ice fishing, and something was stuck on it, and it was below zero, and because it was so cold, I was in a hurry, and boom, I broke the plastic knob off it. Yeah. I mean, and that's such a minor thing. I'm talking about steel breaking and just about everything else. So there is a lot of things that break, and that's part of planning ahead. That's part of having a backup plan. When you start getting to be sub-zero like we're talking, it can be downright dangerous.
I was up. I know this is out of your area, but I was up on the Canadian side of Lake of the Woods one year with Gussie actually, and we were gonna go lake trout fishing, and it was 45 below. And he said, "Yeah, I was out there yesterday, and I was pulling an otter sled behind my snowmobile, my snow machine. He's Canadian, pulling it behind my snow machine, and he went over a bump or a log or something, broke the otter sled like right in half, just broke.
Unbelievable! I've never heard of an otter sled blade breaking like that."
He said, "We're not going fishing. Yeah. We'll come back with nothing. Everything will be broken." So we didn't go. Joe, we should get a fishing report from you, by the way. How are things going up there at Lake of the Woods?
Things are going really good. You know what? This is a time of year that, our resorts are constantly trying to keep our resort fish houses that we rent out to people. They're trying to keep the houses on the walleyes and saugers. And so what happens every year is we keep chasing those fish out to deeper water, and those fish get a little more spread out. So they're moving their houses off, and they're keeping them on fish and active fish. And every day is fishing. I mean, honestly, even though you're going to Lake of the Woods, this is a time of year I tell people. I mean, I do it every time, whether it's early ice or late ice spread, but I tell people, you really need to fish every single fish, meaning it really helps to use electronics. It really helps that when a fish comes in, that you are dialed, that you're paying attention to what colors are hitting on, what size spoons. Do they like the minnow head, the minnow tail? Do they want a full minnow on there? If the bite's tough, do you downsize and go with a smaller jigging spoon? Your dead stick. Are you using a glow lure? Are you using a jig-a-bit? Are you using a regular jig? Or do you go to a plain hook, a plain glow hook, and put that 6 inches off and just let that minnow work? Are you working your dead stick, raising it up, jigging it once in a while so your minnow's active? I mean, all those things are going to catch you more fish. And if you got a tough bite going on in the middle of the winter because of temperature changes and cold fronts and everything else, tell you what, 3, 4, 5 extra fish during the day makes one heck of a difference.
I want to know what your philosophy is on bouncing around for walleyes, and also what you do when you go target new bodies of water. But I want you to tell us that next week here on the show, or people can go see you in St. Cloud doing some seminars on this stuff too, right, Joe?
Exactly, yeah. So coming up, I think it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and if I remember correctly, the dates are the 4th, 5th, and 6th. But basically, at the St. Cloud Sportsman Show, I'm going to be one of the guest speakers, one of the seminar speakers, and then we are going to be talking about those two topics, and really more geared towards the open water. But Brett, I'm getting to be old enough that I don't really hold back, man. I give up all my secrets, and if I happen to fish a tournament against you, God bless you. Let's give each other a high five and let's both whack them. But I'm going to share a lot of different tips and tricks that will not only catch you more fish on Lake of the Woods, but actually wherever you fish. And it's like a lot of good anglers, it's coming from years and years of experience, and I'm just taking out some of the low-hanging fruit and sharing some ideas that, for many people have told me when I've done these seminars in the past, that it's one of those things that's kind of like, it makes sense, and I'm going to try that. And when they do, normally good things happen. So, yeah, and Corey Springle is going to be the other guest presenter. Yeah, cool. Corey Springle is a walleye tournament angler. He's won many tournaments. Very, very well respected in the professional walleye circuit. Really good guy too, and he's going to be the other speakers. So if you're in the area and you want to come to St. Cloud on the 4th, 5th, and 6th of February to check out a sports show. You have some good speakers. There's going to be lots of booths there. And the other thing is nice about St. Cloud is that parking's easy. It doesn't get so darn crowded that you can actually park real close to the River's Edge Convention Center. And there's a lot of good food around and stuff too.
Very good, Joe. Well, have a good time out there. Thanks for being on the show. And if people want to learn more about Lake of the Woods and booking a trip up there, what should they do?
You know what? You can check out the Lake of the Woods Tourism's Facebook page. Otherwise, check out our website, and that is lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
Hear more at sportingjournalradio.com or wherever you get podcasts.
Come ice fish the famous waters of Minnesota's Lake of the Woods, the walleye capital of the world. Experience full-service resorts featuring heated fish houses, ice transportation, meal plans, and sleeper house options. From the Northwest Angle to the South Shore, Rainy River, and Baudette, the Midwest's #1 ice fishing destination. Walleye, sauger, perch, and northern pike. Minnesota's Lake of the Woods, best fishing anywhere. For more information, log on to lakeofthewoodsmn.com.